Here's the low air leaf Peterbilt suspension. Trying to change out that bushing. My 3/4 inch Milwaukee was not strong enough to get the nut off, so I ended up getting my inch drive air cat. Got a 3/4 inch adapter, but it zipped that nut right off. So that's the first step of the process. This one apparently was changed because it's got the updated Peterbilt bushing. That's how the new bushing comes. There's the head of the bolt, there's the nut, and that was 1/2 inch. I just did the other side. Here's my truck. There's my current load. Here's the other side. It was really bad. It was almost metal on metal, maybe even hit a little bit. And look how rusty it was. And if you see this bolt, it's a nylon lock nut. The other side is the bolt. So that I just did that one. The other side had that newer style of bolt where it's just a little bit crimped, and that's what locks the threads. So I'm guessing that that was changed. The nut and the head were 1.5 inches. The nut on this old one was 1 7/16 inches, but it may have rusted down a little bit. Now I'm trying to get this bolt out. You can see I've been able to push it out just a little bit. See that gap? How I'm doing it, I put the 2 nuts on like that, slipped that socket over, and now I'm beating on the back of the socket. That spacer I already took out. I put that feed sack over my quarter fender just to protect it. So I'm just taking my sledgehammer and beating it like that really hard. Watch your kneecaps. So apparently the bolt is locked inside that pipe or space or whatever. So as I'm beating it out, the whole spacer's coming out. So after I ran out of space, then I just started sticking things in here. I left the nut on the end of the bolt, and I might use the bolt for something later, so I'm kind of trying to salvage it. Here, Ricardo, can you hold that? So I'm just still beating on it. I got the feed bag here to protect my quarter fender, and just watch your kneecaps when you do. Oh, there it came. So that's what it looks like. This one isn't near as bad as the other side. It's just a little flat there. Probably still needed to be changed. The front axle is usually what takes more of the bumps. So now I just got to work. I got to work to pop out. This is more of a plastic bushing here. Got to work to get that out. And then so when you're reinstalling this and you clamp down those bolts, it's kind of hard to see, but the rubber, so these two here, this one and that one, they bulge out and they come between that space. So as you're putting it together, if the space isn't equal, just put a screwdriver, a flat screwdriver, on one side or the other to get the space equal so that the rubber pinches between there. Because I don't see anything else that centers the front of that spring in there. Wow, look at that rust buildup. It's caked in there. Feet in diameter. So a really crucial thing when you're working on these, I've got my Power here, and I'm just using that to lift the frame of the truck up and down. So getting it out comes out a whole lot easier if you get it lined up right, and then probably more so putting it back together. See how that slides right back in, and then your whatever it is, large piece of pipe slides in there. And then after that, this piece slides in. When I took it apart, it was like that, with the threads pointing out. I'm going to put it back together like that because I think that's more how it is from factory, and I think it just gives it a cleaner look. So that's how I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to put a little more grease on this bolt. I'm just greasing it up so that it doesn't rust again, because I had to chip huge pieces of rust out. You can see all over the ground where I chipped the rust out. And you'll notice that these are loose and they slide in real easy. But the rubber's there and the rubber's there, and there's actually a lip in the middle where the pieces of rubber go. So both those pieces of rubber are against the lip. And it's loose now, but when you put this in, right like that, slides in, and then it mashes that rubber out. And like I said, it's really important to make sure that there's equal spacing on both sides of your spring. So I'm using 1/2-inch wrench on the nut side, 1/2-inch socket with my Milwaukee impact tack. So I'm using this screwdriver. So the gap just went a little thinner on this side, and I think it was the same on the other side. It wants to slide toward the nut, I guess. Maybe a little less. Okay, that looks about equal. Check it again. Seems to be going pretty equal. Switch. One thing about working on any type of bushing when you have a bolt going through it is that rubber absorbs a lot of the shock, so it usually goes super slow. It's not that I'm pushing a lot, there's a huge amount of torque, it's just that the rubber is absorbing that shock, and that's a big reason it's coming apart so hard. Like I said, I had to use my inch drive, and on the other side I actually had to use my 3/4 inch drive breaker bar, which is right here, with this pipe on it. So, and I was jumping on it, so it's probably, yeah, maybe 700-800 pounds of torque. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep at it with the impact here. Thought I'd let it cool off a little bit. Gap is looking good. You can see all that grease is squeezing out. This is going together harder than the other side. I'll try this. I've hit a dead end. I'm gonna get the inch drive. Got a little more torque into it. It's just so easy to break things with this. It's got way too much power. Let's see if that's me. But like I said, the rubber absorbs so much of the shock. See that fell out? This thing, I want to say it has like 2,400 foot-pounds of torque. So you really got to be careful. Like putting on tires, you can only use the lowest setting. That was weird. It suddenly got a whole lot easier as soon as this ring started touching that. Yeah, the rubber's squeezing right out of that little crack. So it's right there. So I'd say that's good enough. It's tight there. It's tight there. The rubber's providing that side-to-side cushioning. Yeah, I'm gonna call it good enough. Oh, one more thing. These bushings here, you see how they're blue? I've been told that these are not as good as the black ones. I don't know about that. That's just what I've heard. And that's what I'm trying to prevent with putting all that grease in there. Look how bad that one was. And when I put that together, I put grease even on the bolt. I'm sure it'll come apart again someday. It's be a lot easier on me or whoever does it down the road.